The evening sky over New Kyoto Colony glowed in soft shades of gold and blue as the sun sank behind the horizon. The air hummed with the quiet sounds of flying cars passing overhead, lights blinking like stars. On the street below, Evan Hartley walked slowly, holding the small hand of his 8-year-old daughter, Lila. Evan was a single father, an ordinary man in an extraordinary world. Years ago, Earth had reached the stars, and humans had built colonies across distant planets. But even with new technology and alien neighbors, life for many remained simple: work, family, and trying to make it through each day. For Evan, that meant long hours fixing machines at a repair dock, and evenings spent walking Lila home from school. Lila skipped beside him, her small backpack bouncing as she hummed a tune she'd learned that day. Her dark hair shimmered under the floating streetlights, and her laughter made Evan smile. Despite the long day, he always looked forward to these walks. They gave him peace, a reminder that even in a galaxy full of strange wonders, the bond between a father and his daughter was the most precious thing. As they reached the main plaza, Evan noticed the street growing busy. Crowds of humans and aliens moved in all directions: traders, travelers, workers heading home. The hover lanes, glowing strips of blue light floating above the road, guided people safely across. Lila squeezed his hand tighter. She didn't like crowds. "It's okay, kiddo," Evan said softly. "We'll wait for the signal." Lila nodded, her eyes wide as she watched a tall, feathery alien glide by, its robes brushing the air. To her, the galaxy was still a place of wonder. To Evan, it was full of responsibility. The crossing light blinked red, and they stood at the edge of the lane. It was then that Evan saw something strange. An elderly alien, frail and silver-skinned, trying to step onto the glowing lane. His thin hands trembled as he leaned on a curved walking stick that seemed older than he was. The crowd moved around him without a glance. Hover cars zipped by impatiently above, sending soft gusts of wind that made his robe flutter. Evan frowned. The alien looked lost and confused. He turned to Lila. "Stay right here, sweetie." Before she could reply, he stepped forward. "Sir," Evan called gently. "Let me help you." The alien turned, his large glassy eyes blinking in surprise. His skin shimmered like moonlight, and his voice came out soft and melodic. "Ah, a human? How unusual." "Thank you, young one." Evan smiled, offering his arm. "The traffic's a little wild tonight. Let's take it slow." Together they stepped onto the hover lane. The air beneath their feet hummed faintly, supporting their weight as they crossed above the speeding flow of small vehicles. Evan walked carefully, holding the alien's arm steady. A few hovercrafts honked, short bursts of sound that echoed through the air, but Evan ignored them. When they reached the other side, the alien exhaled, clearly relieved. "Thank you, human," he said, bowing slightly. "Few would stop. The galaxy moves too quickly for kindness." Evan chuckled lightly. "Guess I'm old-fashioned. My mom used to say helping others is what makes us human." The alien tilted his head thoughtfully. "Then your species has much wisdom left." Lila ran up, eyes bright. "Daddy, you helped him." "Are you okay, mister?" The alien smiled warmly. "Quite fine, little one. You have a kind father." He introduced himself as Alaris Venn, a retired stellar cartographer from a distant system called Zalarian. He explained in slow and gentle words that he once mapped the paths of ancient stars before age took his sight and strength. Now he lived quietly in the colony, forgotten by most, spending his days watching the skies he once charted. As he spoke, his voice carried a kind of music, each word filled with a quiet dignity that made even the busy plaza feel calm. Evan listened with genuine interest. He'd always admired explorers and scientists, though his own life had turned toward practical work. "That's amazing," he said. "You must have seen things most of us can't even imagine." Alaris smiled faintly. "Indeed. Yet what I have not seen until today," he said, turning toward Evan, "is a human stop to help a stranger with nothing to gain." He reached into his robe and drew out a small metallic token. It gleamed like liquid silver, engraved with delicate patterns that shifted in the light. "A small gift," the alien said. "A memory of stars long gone." Evan hesitated. "You don't have to—" "Please," Alaris interrupted gently. "It would honor me if you accepted." Evan nodded, taking the token. It felt strangely warm in his palm. "Thank you, Alaris." The alien bowed again and shuffled away into the crowd, his silhouette fading between the lights of the plaza. Lila tugged at her father's sleeve. "Daddy, that was nice. Maybe we'll see him again?" Evan smiled down at her. "Maybe, sweetheart. Now let's get you home before dinner gets cold." Their small apartment sat near the colony's edge, overlooking the plains where glowing towers met open sky. Inside, the air smelled faintly of engine oil and fresh noodles, a familiar mix that reminded Evan of home. He set his tools aside while Lila drew pictures of stars at the kitchen table. After dinner, when she had gone to bed, Evan sat by the window, turning the silver token over in his hands. Its surface caught the moonlight, patterns shifting like constellations. He wondered what Ilaris meant by stars long gone. He placed it on the table beside his old scanner, a leftover from his engineering days. To his surprise, the scanner flickered to life. A thin beam of blue light swept across the token, and then the air above it shimmered. A holographic map appeared, glowing softly in the dim room. Dozens of points of light filled the air, connected by faint lines that pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat. The stars seemed alive, each one humming with gentle energy. Evan leaned forward, mesmerized. He recognized none of the constellations. The scanner beeped, displaying strange readings, coordinates that didn't match any known chart. He frowned. What in the world? He tapped a few buttons, trying to translate the symbols. The map shifted again, revealing a spiral of light that extended beyond the edge of known space. At its center was a single bright point, marked with a symbol that looked like an eye. For a moment, Evan felt something stir inside him. Not fear, but curiosity. It was the same feeling he used to get as a child, looking at the night sky back on Earth. He remembered Ilaris's words. "It would honor me if you accepted." Maybe this wasn't just a gift. Maybe it was a message. The token pulsed once more, casting a soft blue glow across the room. Evan could hear Lila breathing softly from her bedroom. He smiled, his heart warm with wonder and a hint of unease. He didn't know what the map meant or why Ilaris had chosen him, but he felt certain of one thing. This night had changed something. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, and somehow he and his daughter were now part of one. Outside, the stars of New Kyoto shimmered like they were watching. The world continued on, ships flying, lights flickering, unaware that in one small apartment, a father and daughter had just taken the first step towards something that could touch the heart of the universe itself. Evan turned off the scanner and looked out the window again. Guess helping an old man cross the road wasn't such a small thing after all, he murmured with a smile. The token glowed faintly in the dark, pulsing like a heartbeat, steady, alive, and waiting. Evan woke up early the next morning to the soft hum of the colony outside his window. The token from Ilaris still rested on the table, glowing faintly even in the daylight. He stared at it for a long moment, remembering the strange holographic map that had appeared the night before. He wanted to believe it was just some old piece of alien technology reacting to his scanner. But deep down, something told him it was more. When Lila woke up, she found him still sitting there, eyes half lost in thought. "Daddy, are you looking at that shiny thing again?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. Evan smiled softly. "Yeah, kiddo. It's interesting. Remember the nice alien we helped? He said this was a gift. Maybe it's a treasure," she said eagerly. He chuckled. Maybe. After breakfast, Evan decided to stop by his workshop before heading to work. The place was small and full of tools, wires, and old machine parts. He placed the token under a magnifier, connecting it to a few sensors. The readings were strange. The energy coming from it didn't match anything in his database. It seemed almost alive, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. When he touched the surface again, the map flickered to life. The small lights danced in the air, forming paths through space, shifting every few seconds. It wasn't just a map, it was moving, like it was showing time itself changing. Lila leaned closer, fascinated. "It looks like stars dancing," Evan smiled. "You might be right." He didn't notice the quiet figure entering the workshop until he heard a familiar voice. "Ah, I see curiosity runs deep in you, human." Evan turned. It was Ilaris Venn, the elderly alien from the crossing. His long robe shimmered faintly in the workshop's dim light. He looked tired, but his eyes were bright, full of quiet purpose. "Ilaris, you found us again?" Evan said, surprised. "I hoped you would study the token," Ilaris replied kindly. "You are curious. That is good. Curiosity keeps life moving forward. Evan hesitated. I don't understand what this is. The map, it changes, it feels alive. Alaris nodded slowly. It is alive in a way. It is part of the Stellar Archive, a collection of knowledge older than most galaxies. Long ago, when my people still traveled among the stars, we created these tokens to preserve what we learned. But over time, greed and pride made many forget why they existed. The maps were scattered, lost to history. Lila's eyes sparkled. So it's like a message from the past? Yes, Alaris said softly, but also a promise. This one shows the places where harmony once existed, worlds that chose peace, learning, and unity over power. It has been waiting for someone to find it again, someone who still believes in kindness. Evan blinked, unsure what to say. And you think? That's me? The alien smiled. You stopped to help a stranger with nothing to gain. That simple act meant more than you can imagine. The archive reacts to compassion, not authority. It chose you. Evan felt a shiver run down his spine. He had always seen himself as ordinary, just a man trying to raise his daughter and pay the bills. Yet now an ancient relic from across the stars was reacting to him. He looked at Alaris. What happens now? The alien sighed softly. The token is only one piece of the archive. There are others hidden throughout the colonies. If we can connect them, the map will awaken fully and reveal a message the galaxy was never meant to forget. Evan glanced at Lila, who was already looking excited. Can we help? She asked. Alaris's gaze softened. You already have, little one, but there is more to do. Over the next few days, they began their quiet search. Alaris, though frail, guided them through the hidden corners of the colony, old observatories, abandoned data stations, and forgotten archives. Evan repaired old machines while Lila recorded everything in her small tablet. Each time they found a fragment, the token grew brighter, projecting new paths of light in the air. It was beautiful, like watching hope being built piece by piece. One evening, as the three of them sat under the glowing towers of the colony, Alaris spoke softly. When my people first met humans, we thought of you as young and reckless. But now I see. Your strength lies not in age or power, but in heart. Evan looked down, a little embarrassed. We make mistakes, he said, but we try to learn. That's what keeps us going. Alaris nodded, and that is what makes you special. The old alien's health was fading, and Evan could see it. His steps grew slower, and sometimes he had to stop to rest. But he never complained. Instead, he watched the stars with quiet eyes, as if saying goodbye. One night after Lila had fallen asleep, Alaris handed Evan a small crystal disc, the final key. This will complete the map, he said softly. But I do not have the strength to see it fully revealed. My journey ends here, human. Yours continues. Evan wanted to argue, but Alaris simply smiled. Do not be sad. Life moves in circles. What matters is what we pass on. He turned toward the window where the stars shimmered faintly. The archive will speak when it feels your truth. The next day, Evan placed the crystal disc beside the token. The lights merged together and a great map filled the room, so bright it painted the walls with starlight. Lila gasped, covering her mouth. In the center of the map, symbols formed, not words, but shapes that somehow carried meaning. Evan felt the message not through his eyes but his heart. It was a reminder, ancient and pure. Life is precious when shared. Growth without kindness is hollow. Every act of compassion echoes beyond time. The map began to fade, its light dissolving into the air until only the token remained, now dark and still. Alaris's voice, soft and faint, echoed in Evan's mind. Guard this truth, human. Carry it into the stars. In the days that followed, life slowly returned to normal. Evan went back to repairing machines and Lila returned to her lessons. But something had changed. People began noticing the human engineer who helped a strange alien and found something remarkable. A few even asked to hear the story. Evan never spoke about the details of the map. He simply said, "It reminded me that kindness matters, no matter how small." At night he would sometimes stand by the window, holding the silent token in his hand. The stars outside seemed brighter now, almost alive. And sometimes, when the wind was quiet, he could swear he heard Alaris's voice, calm, proud, and full of peace. One evening, Lila joined him at the window. "Daddy," she whispered, "do you think the nice alien is happy now?" Evan smiled gently. I think he is. He's with the stars he loved so much. She nodded, then looked up at the sky. Do you think we'll go there one day? He placed a hand on her shoulder. Maybe we will. But when we do, we'll remember what he taught us, and that being human isn't about where we go but how we treat others. Lila smiled, resting her head against him. Together they watched the sky, a father and daughter, small and ordinary, yet somehow connected to something vast and timeless. And though Evan never sought fame or reward, the story of his kindness quietly spread. People in the colony began showing more patience, more empathy. Small acts of help multiplied, one person at a time. The galaxy didn't change overnight, but it had begun to remember something it had forgotten, that compassion is strength, and understanding is light. Far beyond the colony, unseen by human eyes, a faint shimmer passed through the stars, the final echo of the stellar archive awakening. In that glow, the memory of an old alien and a human father lived on, woven into the very fabric of space, because sometimes the smallest act of kindness can reach across time, across worlds, and change everything. And in that truth, humanity found its place among the stars,